the huge amount of new sprite work and all that. And 4 kind of forgoes that in favor of a lot of reused assets. There are new assets in this game, but there are a lot of reused assets in this game. But the flip side of that, in my opinion at least, is that the things they did with the stages are really interesting. There's a lot of really interesting segments. They also finally got it in their head that the Neo Geo is a 4-button system and assigned button D to something. Instead of in the old Slugs, if you pushed A and B at the same time, you'd do a slug crash. But in this, they're like, why don't we put it on a separate button? But anyway, they got rid of Eri and Tarma, and they replaced them with these characters. This game was not made directly by SNK. It was subcontracted to a Korean company, and they wanted their own characters. But you know, whatever. We're playing Marvel. So this right here is one of the new power-ups for Metal Slug 4, which is the 2 heavy machine guns, which is kind of weird. The 2 machine guns. So, heavy machine guns in this game you can kind of like sweep, but the 2 machine guns you can't. They fire like lasers. But they are very powerful. Like Metal Slug 3, this game has some routes you can take. Not nearly as many and not nearly as drastic, but there are a few ways that are better than others, in my opinion at least. And if you go the top route in this stage, you end up in a kind of longish auto-scroller. This game also has a different, or a unique, I don't know if you want to call it power-up, but like the zombies in 3, there's a unique transformation, I guess we'll just call it. And in this case, you get turned into a monkey. And the monkey power-up, or transformation, is pretty interesting, because this bar that's on the top of the screen is actually like a grabbable object. So getting turned into the monkey isn't just like exclusively bad. It is generally pretty bad, but it's not just all bad like the mummy was in Slug 2. I forgot the timer again. Nice. I'm pretty good at this. You can tell I haven't done any speedruns in years. So this first boss, kind of unique blimp thing. It's got 3 phases. Pretty straightforward overall. I don't know, nothing too much to say about it.
You're great. Mission complete. Mission 2, start.
Another thing that's in this game is that combo metal. For what I'm doing, it doesn't really matter, but it essentially lets you like build up a chain of kills, and you get extra points for it. I really don't worry about it too much, because score attacking Metal Slug games is a really good way to hate yourself. Get out of the vehicles, because bombs get assigned to you if you pick them up outside the vehicle, but if I'm in it, it would give me more missiles for the vehicle, and I don't really need any more for this thing. This is one of the unique things they did, where they made some of the enemy vehicles into vehicles that you could get in. And it's kind of neat. If I was in co-op, there'd actually be another one there. And this segment with both those vehicles is pretty fun because you can just roll over it. But the downside to this compared to like a traditional Slug is that these vehicles don't really have iframes. So if you get shot by like 3 bullets in a row, it'll just blow up instead of having to recoil and some downtime. Alright, so this part right here is kind of dangerous. These planes that are coming here, they're pretty random, and they fire missiles that you need to get rid of right away. But sometimes they'll just like fly directly over top of you and drop their missile. And if they do that, you're just kind of screwed. They don't do it too often, but it is obnoxious. And also the chaser won't really shoot those missiles, like, purposefully. But, that one fine. We're good. So this, I don't really need a whole lot of grenades for the boss, so I just trashed that segment. What's happening? Those particular tanks have just a ton of health, so that segment takes forever if you try and pistol it, and it spawns a whole lot of pretty annoying enemies. So. Oops. A gas tank here which will refill our Slug's health. And then this boss is really weird. This is a really difficult boss for the second boss of the game. But the strategy I use basically is to take advantage of the firepower and health that the Slug has. And just kind of tank a few hits and start burning my resources. And once I'm to this part, you can actually just sit here and deal with everything. The sniper guys that come out will be killed immediately. This guy with the bazooka will just keep shooting over you and finish this tower off. This thing is... Honestly, this is one of the more difficult bosses in the game if you don't have a really strong game plan. There's also a really weird bug in co-op where if you do what I did with the Slug, instead of getting stuck at that angle, it'll climb up it. And then you can, like, kind of hop off and get on that platform. It's weird. Anyway, these soldiers were hiding in snowmen for some reason. Alright. So here, I don't want to kill... Okay, you don't talk. I don't want to kill that guy because if you shoot these containers, it gives food. And if you eat enough food in this game, like a few of the Slug games, you get arguably power up called Big. Oh, well, okay, I guess we got it. I don't really want this. It makes a couple things more awkward here, but it'll be okay. It's not like a death sentence or anything. Mainly it means this hill climb I'm just going to have to spend a lot more time on. Big does make your shots bigger, and Flame Shot in particular gets kind of gigantic with it. Normally I kind of run down this hill, but a lot of the strategies that I use may not work because you do move slower when you're big. It's not really noticeable, but a lot of the stuff I do here is so... Yep. Went for one thing. So here I need to do this, because I need to flame shot. Oh boy. So that log does weird stuff when it's too far off screen.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, right. So if I had the fire bombs that I should have there, they would hit that while I was standing, that helicopter while I was standing there, but the regular bombs won't do it. Flame shot does a lot of damage to large enemies like that it hangs out in their hitbox. That thing has a lot of health. Alright, so I don't really like Mission 4. It's really out of place in this game. This, like, each of the Metal Slug games feels like it kind of has a theme to what they're doing with what the enemies are. And in this game, like, the enemies feel very mechanical, very, like, robotic, and then there's this stage where we fight zombies. And it feels really out of touch with the rest of it. It's not a huge problem. We also get this weird walker slug thing, which is definitely not based on any sprites from zombies in Slug 3. Helicopters, and then be in the next area. Kind of slow play that section a bit because there's just a lot going on. This is another place where I've got a choice of directions. The bottom route goes to a mummy section, which is completely awful. So go up here instead. You kind of get ambushed here, but if you've got this walker thing, you've got enough time to take that out before you deal with these zombies, and it cleans up the screen pretty nicely. So here, there's a fight here, and it's pretty chaotic. Except that if you crouch in the corner here, these lunging zombie soldiers can't get you, so you can just kind of let them go, which is nice. Oh, they're decent, well. I don't want that guy, I want the flame shot for the boss. The boss is pretty awkward. For one, there's just like not any bombs you can get in the stage, so like it's fairly common in the Metal Slug games to try and carry bombs to the bosses. But you can't do that. But you can carry this flame shot, and as we discussed earlier, flame shot does a lot of damage to stuff that has a big hitbox. so I can kind of hang out in there for a long time. So I'm trying to kill these blue acid bubble things specifically because they can give power-ups. Depending on where they are in the order, I sometimes just skip them and use a pistol to kill the rocket. Because, you know, while we would like to have power-ups, strictly speaking, we can just dodge everything and do that. There we go!
Mission complete.
Okay, stage 5. Stage 5 has a lot of unique stuff with these pirates. It has a route I really need to learn because it's hilarious and it's one of my favorite routes in any of these games, but I don't understand how to do it safely, so I can't go that way. If you go... So these guys have a shield, or these tanks have a shield, but if you get right up on them, you can kind of... Okay. You can kind of do that. So you can either go to the right here, and you go to a hilarious section where you drive around a forklift. Or you can go over here. And this elevator's pretty straightforward compared to that segment. I'd like to get that heavy machine gun, but he's kind of driving over it, so I guess we'll get the super grenade instead. POW to some points. Alright, so this segment I kind of need to slow play a bit, because there's a couple places where some bad stuff can happen if the enemies spawn in a certain way. The most notable being right after this fight. I need to wait for these soldiers to come down and get rid of them before the tank that's coming up spawns. I think this guy's okay. This thing, if you let those guys live and you spawn this tank, sometimes the soldiers will get stuck behind, will be behind them, and one of them will throw a rolling bomb. And the combination of the tank shells and the rolling bomb can be completely unavoidable. So that's one spot you really have to kind of do in certain ways. Or you can use bombs and get through it, but I don't want to use any bombs. This segment sucks. This is one of the things about the game that I really hate. These platforms, there are gaps that you can fall in, and because they're at an angle, it can be really awkward to tell where exactly you can jump to. Nice job. You killed them. So there's a fight here, but if you kill these two guys first, it tends to get skipped like that. then the boss. We get to see the stage 1 boss, apparently still flying but on fire in the background. It's been just kind of hanging out up there the last 10 minutes or whatever. So this sub has a few different things that it does, but if you stand in about this location, it tries to do this gunshot attack where it shoots you off the deck of the boat that it just blew up. But obviously it doesn't hit me right here, so you get to just kind of shoot at it. If it lives too long, it dives, and then it has a couple other attacks that it can do, and it can shoot missiles if you're in different spots, but that's all we're doing.
Mission complete.
Alright, last mission. The beginning of this mission is pretty infamous for being kind of bullshit. We're gonna mission impossible our way into this boss, or into this base. But your left-right movement during this segment is very slow. So you really have to make sure you are controlling where things are happening. The other thing is, that box right there you don't want to shoot because it has a drop shot, which is like the most hilariously the most hilariously asinine drop they could possibly put anywhere in this stage. So obviously I would have liked to have taken the chaser through this whole segment, but that's not how life goes. I normally don't use bombs on that, but that segment is a little wonky, and I'd rather use the bombs there and have to take a little bit longer on the final boss than something else happening.
Rocket launcher.
Not sure where that guy was shooting. Alright, here he is, the true hero of the universe. Love that guy. So this fight's kind of weird because there's a tank that's oh, I guess it did. Sometimes that spawn on the left, or that tank on the left, just gets despawned, and I have no good answer to why. Alright, so this right here is one of my favorite Slug segments in any of the games. Slug use segments, that is. You just, like, get to thrash stuff so well with this. And, like, there's all these really interesting angles with the slope there. Doesn't matter too much if you take hits, because you just use it for this segment. You don't get to take this to the boss or anything. We get these robot Mordens for aesthetics. Here we say farewell to our Slug.
Thank you.
So here I'm going to grab these, try and build up some resources. This thing is kind of a trap if you're a new player and you're just walking on screen shooting. If you destroy this, then you can't get the stuff this guy drops. Except sometimes he just doesn't spawn in the right spot and you can get him anyway.
Okay.
Alright, so this is the Alan fight. The Alan fight in 4 is kind of annoying. Alan has 3 different attacks. One is he can shoot his gun at you, which he'll do if he's at the same level as you, which you can just duck. Or if he's below you at a 45-degree angle, which, yep, which is pretty easy to dodge because it'll only shoot it at specific times. But the real annoying thing about Alan in Slug 4 is that his melee attack is instant instead of having a delay. And so sometimes he will melee you and there is not a damn thing you can do to avoid it. You can also just forget your angles. I was trying to, like, you have to wait for him to start shooting and then jump. And he wasn't doing that. If you're below him, he'll throw grenades like that. But, yeah, that was pretty dumb Alan fight. Like, Alan's pretty predictable, but at the same time, like, if he decides he's meleeing you, there's not a dang thing you're doing about it. So, this boss has 3 forms. The first form is rather trivial. The missiles, you can just kind of jump over. This thing, if you stand against the wall, this attack just doesn't work correctly, which is fun. And the rings, which I guess is jump. He also has 3 attacks. He also does the attacks in a set order, so it's pretty easy to know where to be to avoid stuff. This attack, these satellites you get to destroy, and once in a while they'll drop power-ups. They seem to be more likely to drop power-ups when you don't have any, but obviously that's not a guarantee. Oh, this is bad. I might be dead. Okay. And the last form goes into this thing. There's a few attacks he has here. This one is kind of annoying depending on what he does afterwards, because if he does these robots afterwards, you get in the corner and you can't jump out because they have collision as soon as they've started spawning. Oh shit. This attack's kind of weird. I went for the laser because I'd rather do damage. But that like circle laser thing will kill you if you're standing on the ground when he shoots it, or when it getting to the ground. It basically like makes a little explosion on the ground. These you basically just have to duck and jump when one fires late. Crazy to give me the robots. This is the rarest attack by a wide margin. Oh, except that, I guess. I don't even know what that laser beam is supposed to do. And that's the boss. It's actually two different endings in this game. You can let the explosion hit you and get one ending. Escape. And that's that.
Mission complete. Mission all over.
Alright, well thanks RGL for hosting, and that's a marathon.